What's up, guys? So just to let you guys know before I get into the deck profile, I've actually remade this deck like 4 times, and every single time I wanted to film it, something would come up and I would like not like something in it and just like decompose it, just being super frustrated and like take it apart. So this version is the version I'm actually really happy I finally ended up getting to, because it's actually really fun to play. It's like the only deck in Force of Will that almost makes me feel like I'm playing like Yu-Gi-Oh or something, where like I'm setting up a lot of my plays, and once I get it on, they just like lose. And it's really funny because like you don't really have stuff like that in Force of Will. The closest deck I guess I would say was like Machina, where you just get all the pieces you need and then just drop everything and win. And so it kind of feels like on par with that, in the sense that it's a very heavy like combo deck, and once you get all of your pieces you just go like bam, I win, and it's just a really fun feeling. So it's very like, I normally I play super like really heavy control deck, so like going from like a mid-range or control deck to this deck was just really interesting to play. So going with the Mercurius side, she of course has Judgment, which is 2 blue and 1 light. I mean, and 1 anything. I don't know why. I don't know how I got light from that, but it was like an L, and I just said light or white. I don't know. Anyway, and then Energize, and then she has 2 mana counters, of course. These rulers use mana counters to use ancient magic spells. I like in general just hate Mercurius, just like throwing that out there, because she's the one that imprisoned Lumia. And if anyone's been like watching me since like the very beginning of my YouTube channel, everyone knows Lumia was like my favorite ruler of all time. She's literally just like the greatest card in the entire game. Like I've always loved Lumia. She's like my, I guess, waifu, you could say. I've never really like used that for like term because I don't really know what it means. But Lumia is just like Bae. Like she's the greatest forcible character ever. Like when Abdul was like broken, Lumia in the lore was like the one who like killed him with like, I think it was, I forget who was helping her. I think it was like Alice or something. It doesn't matter. It was all Lumia. We all know she did all the work. So like this is her mortal enemy, and like I hate her. I just want to throw her away. But the new Lumia is awesome, and I'll get into that later, like when the new set comes out. But I'm glad she dies. So for all of you like Mercurius fans, I'm sorry, but I hate her. She had to die. Well, I'm assuming she's dead. I don't really know. Anyway, I'll get back into the deck profile. I get like lost in the lore. But she enters with 5 mana counters, so that makes a total of 7. If you remove the demon that's specific to her, I think it's like Astaroth. Yeah, Astaroth. There you go. She gets 5 more. So it's a total of 12 for anyone that's confused. It's not like this 5 refers to that effect. It's just 5 and then another 5, and then she starts with 2. So that's 12. And then just for everyone to know, it doesn't really like matter on discard as much, but it's just kind of like a ruling thing, because I don't think I mentioned it for the Mars. This card says, as this card enters your field, you may remove a card named Azeroth Gate Duke of Hell in your hand from the game. If you do, this card enters with 5 more mana counters. If you notice, like all of the new cards say like when this card enters the field, and then like it shows like a little arrow pointing that way, blah 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 happens. These kind of effects that say as this card enters your field all happens like before your opponent gets to respond. So if I J activate, like I'm on the ruler side, and I say J activate, my opponent gets a response. If nothing happens, she of course flips to this side, enters the field. This effect would apply, and once it's fully resolved, then my opponent would be able to do something. So, well, actually, I would still like retain priority in this sense, but like the next action I take, they'd be able to do something. But like, I want people to understand that like when she's summoned, it's not like the enter effect goes on the chase and they get to like Black Moonbeam or something. All of this like applies before they're allowed to do anything. And in this particular case with this ruler, it wouldn't really matter, because even if I like J activated and I did go on the chase and they Black Moonbeam, she would like die, and then the card would still get removed, and she would gain 10 more counters anyway, and she would still have 12. So it wouldn't really matter. But like in the case with the new Lumia, she says like if you banish Nyarlathotep from the game, she gains imperishable. So like you get to do all of that before she's like fully resolved on the field, because it says as this card enters your field, and it doesn't say like when this card enters your field, blah 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 blah. So your opponent doesn't get to respond. Like it just kind of happens as part of the J-activate requirement thing, and not like in the middle of a chase or something. So she comes in with 12 counters. The next action you take, your opponent would be able to like respond with something. Other than that, she's safe. But like I said, it doesn't matter. The counters stay on both sides, for anyone that might have been confused about that too, including like if she dies or anything like that happens. So regardless of what happens, you're getting all 12 counters, and that's all you care about, because her body doesn't really matter. If you get the combo off, you just win no matter if she's alive or not. So for the magic stones, I have 4 magic stone of deep wood. I wanted to play green not for any ramp or anything, but because this is the only other color that provides like a decent amount of draw. Guinevere would have been nice, but I didn't feel as though I had enough red. When the new stuff comes out, the new stones that are like the shock rocks or whatever people are calling them right now, the red blue stone that gives mana, I might want to change this to like red blue, like hardcore, and then that, just because it's so much better. The Guinevere would be really good in this deck, but like with only the option of having like limited space, like hoping for a Guinevere early on with only 4 stones is just being too like hopeful, and I didn't want to do that. So green seemed better for right now. And then Magic Stone and Dark Depth. This is black blue. Really important because of Space-Time Anomaly. I know I like outplay like the crap out of that card, but it's just too good not to play. Not to mention, like, if you have the blue, having the off color of black is really good, and Nameless Mist is also really mandatory in this deck, in my opinion anyway. So I really wanted the black as well. And then I just played like 2 water stones on the off, just because I didn't want to play like the off colors together, so like black and green, because it would mess up my turn 2 for the demon if I wanted to have it turn 2, or like if I got really unlucky and I hit like the black green, and then like the next stone would be one of those 2, I wouldn't be able to deactivate the next turn. So it just seemed kind of off. So I tested the aloof Memoria, the one that says like you can draw and discard, but I literally never, not once, used it, no matter how many stones I had. It just was like completely useless with the curve. And so I just switched them out for monos, because I figured at least this way, if I hit 2 of these early and I'm playing against like a Rab Captain Hook deck, at least they can't hit them. So having the monos actually seemed better anyway. But for the Resonators, I'm running 4 Alice's Little Scout. This entire deck is just draw. Like, you want to see all of your combo pieces as fast as you can, and so you want to get to them as quick as possible, and having this as like a little 1-drop is really good. I wanted to not play it, and I wanted to play Messenger Familiar instead, because I do run Titania, but I didn't like. Having the all blue and being able to play this seemed better than hoping for the black early on, because when I do hit a black, I'd rather hold like Space-Time Anomaly open, so it seemed just better to have the Scout. And then for Tama, this card has an advantage against Scout in the sense that it draws right away, which is something I really like. And so like, cause like with Scout, it's like, I don't think it's gonna happen often because it's not really worth it. But if they like use water transformation on it as they're like attacking and I block or something, I won't get the draw anymore because it blanks the effect. So I really don't think people are gonna do that. But like, it, you know, the Tama enters the field, you already gain what you wanted to gain. You know what your hand looks like. You don't have to like hope and kind of like wait to see what you draw. So it's just a better card, but like it's green and I don't have 10 greens, so the Scout seemed more important. And then for Astaroth, this card I like playing it turn 2, but if I have like a Space-Time Anomaly or an Ancient Knowledge, I'd much rather hold that open. This card is actually like, sometimes I just play it so that I can remove it from my hand, and I like don't even summon it that whole game. And if you have multiples, it's pretty good to like hold 2 of them in your hand too, just because like of how good Scorn is right now. If your opponent's like attacking your hand, it could become problematic. I tend to have like more draw power than they have discards anyway, but like I wanted to play multiples of the cards that I wanted to see early, just because I knew people were going to be trying to like go for my hand the whole time. So I think like, don't always play this for the sense of like attacking or whatever. You don't really need any damage. You can play it like, I like playing this if I haven't, like if the game's dragging out and I don't have my combos. I like playing this when I have the 2 mana to pay to put it in my hand, so that just in case they do try to kill it, I could just bounce it back. Because essentially the amount of damage you take just doesn't matter as long as you're in the game, because with one, like if your combo goes off, you're gonna win no matter what. So it doesn't, like, you're just stalling pretty much. For Captain Hook, this is the most important card of the deck, of course. You want to drop at least 2 to 3 of these with Rising from the Depths in order to just get rid of all of your opponent's stones and win. What makes this card so good is just that normally in Force the Will, tempo hasn't been that good, because if you bounce all of your opponent's cards to their hand with stuff like sniping from a blind spot and cards like that, like Force the Will's enter effects are just really strong. So when your opponent like replays their cards, you just kind of feel like you're almost giving them advantage anyway, and you lost the card just to like bounce their card back, so it never really felt that good. But in this deck, when you use Rising from the Depths and it bounces all of your opponent's monsters back, and you drop the hooks and you get rid of their stones, they just don't have the mana to replay all the cards you returned anyway. And so it makes it feel kind of like what tempo should have been. Like you're actually stopping your opponent from using the cards you bounce, so it's almost as if you destroyed them anyway. They just can't do anything about it. You want at least 2 of these, but early on, sometimes when you do have just like a random crazy hand where you have all your combo pieces, there's been times where I've had just 1 of this and like 2 Tatianas, or a Tatiana and the Astaroth, like an extra Astaroth, so that like I banished one and summoned another one with Rising, and it was just as good. And so Tatiana is, you know, all waters get 200, so whenever you have her in hook, it does power him up. The only reason I ran this over like Ice Dragon or something is because on the off chance I had like a bunch of green cats and Alice Scouts, I could just manually summon it too if things were like not going the way I wanted it to. And essentially I was gonna run Messenger Familiar at first, but I just decided against it just because I didn't want to have to like wait for the black. It just didn't seem as good. I figured like there is a lot of draw power in this deck, so I'd rather have the Alice Scout like search, like give me draws for the other cards I need instead of just searching the Tatiana, because I want more hooks anyway. She was just kind of like 4 hooks didn't feel like enough. Even when I played like just 3 of this, it didn't feel like enough, because sometimes I would have 2 of this and 1 hook really early, and like that's what I wanted to do, because then I was like, oh, it's game anyway. When you don't play enough for the big drops, sometimes your hand is just like 1 hook and you don't want to like Rising. So I think 4 and 4 actually felt really good. And then for some of the spells, I only play 1 Ancient Knowledge. This card's actually really good, but there's a reason why I only play 1. I want to only resolve this as like I'm going throughout the game. So this card costs 4, but if you remove 2 mana counters, it would cost 2. And so a lot of the times when I do happen to have this early on from all the draw power, I'll keep 2 open. You remove my original 2 mana counters to use this card for 2. You never want to remove more than that. Like if you've deactivated, you should be winning anyway. But always make sure, like, the reason why you're okay with removing 2 for this card is because you get a total of 12 when your combo goes off. And so, well, you start with 2 and then you get 10 more. So if you remove 2 for this, you can still afford to pay the 10 for the Rising from the Depths, but you don't want to like try to use this for like free or something and then not have the Rising. So you remove 2 and pay the 2 to use this card. It fills up your hand with most of the combo pieces because you get to dig so deep. And then when you drop the Rising, you pay the other 10 you have. So I didn't want multiples of this because I knew I was only going to be able to resolve it once. And so all the draw power typically gets me to this, and then this gets me to the rest of the cards if I don't already have them. And then 3 Nameless Mist. I was going to play 4, but it didn't really feel super mandatory because sometimes I would like double up on it and I didn't really want 2 of them. This card is just here because you need to be able to get stuff like Wall of Wind and Seal out of your opponent's hand, because if they kind of notice what you're doing and they're holding a counter, and they're going to counter the Rising from the Depths, it's just, you're going to lose no matter what because now you can't resolve that card. Not to mention, like, you removed all your mana counters anyway. So it's really important to get the counters out of your opponent's hand so that you can just resolve the Rising and win. And then 4 Summon from Memoria. This card's just like digging through your deck even more. I've wanted to play this card in so many different decks, but it seems really slow. But in this deck, because your win condition is so strong, it just doesn't matter if you're taking the time to set up as much, because like I said, like the second you resolve 2 or even 1 hook really early, or like there's been time where I resolved 2 hooks in the Tatiana and my opponent had like 5 stones, so they're going to 1 stone and then like tapping for a second. There just isn't really much they can do, and it just feels really good. Also, like, I played against my friends the Grim Junior deck, this one, and he had all mono stones, and I was able to dig out just like multiple Titanias instead of hooks because I couldn't hit his stones anyway, and I was able to just drop 3 of her, and then it was so early that he didn't have the answer for them, and they're all pumping each other up, so like I was able to just swing with everything and win really quickly. So I like the digging it provides. And then 4 Rewriting Laws. This card, I didn't play it at first because I had like forgotten about it for whatever reason, but it's really, really important because there's so many times like I had like 3 mana and I had to pay 1 green to like summon a Tama, and then I drew the last combo piece I needed and I couldn't deactivate anymore because I'm on the turn I would have deactivated because it's like turn 4, but I spent the 1 for the Tama and I drew the card I needed, so now I have to wait till next turn anyway. But with Rewriting Laws, it's really good because there was times where like I'd have I tap for my third stone. I'd use like Nameless Mist, get the seal out of my opponent's hand, and then summon like an Alice Scout and pass, or like hold Spacetime Anomaly and pass. And then on my next turn, when I would play the Tama, it's like I know they don't have the counter, but now I can't deactivate it, and I just drew the combo piece. So when I would play Rewriting Laws, it would be like I would recover the 2 stones I paid, could get the last combo piece anyway, and actually be able to deactivate and keep going. So it felt really, really nice to actually play this card. Like, getting the extra draw for like no cost pretty much was just really nice, and there was so many times that it gave me the perfect card while still being able to have the mana to play, like to deactivate and do everything else I wanted. So Rewriting Laws, definitely, I don't know how I missed it, but it was working wonders. And then Spacetime Anomaly, still think it's the best card in the game. I'm probably going to get like more comments saying like you're still playing this card in every deck. I think it's just incredible. Being able to like actually slow your opponent down by removing their monsters and draw for it, which is the most important part, just feels really, really good. It's also an answer to like to J rulers typically, because I don't have any J ruler like removal. Captain Hook and stuff of course doesn't target them, but for the most part, if you're playing against a deck that does deactivate really quickly, summoning the hooks and getting rid of all of their stones leaves them with no stones in the J ruler anyway, so there isn't much they could do. But just having an answer to it while being a draw engine was really good as well. And then lastly, the FoW Rising from the Depths. I played 2 of this at one point, never saw it, played 3 of it. I would see it every now and then, and sometimes it would get Nameless Misted, literally the turn after I had every other card I would need, and it was super frustrating. So I bumped it to 4, and I see it a lot more often. There's been times where I've had 2 of these and gotten Nameless Misted, and I was like, okay, cool, you're gonna hit 1, I still have another one, I still win. That felt really nice. There's like those off games every now and then where when I played 4 of this, I would have like 3 of them in my hand and like nothing else I needed, and that was really frustrating because like sometimes I would go through like 25 cards in my deck and I wouldn't see a single hook, and I'd have like 1 Titania, and I was just like, what's going on? Like I'm 25 cards in, I have 15 cards, like less than 15 cards in my deck, and I like they're all on the bottom, which was really frustrating because like I wouldn't even mulligan them. So there is those games where you'll see like a bunch of these, unfortunately, and like nothing else that you need. But for the most part, every time I like took my time to like shuffle properly and stuff, I would see my combo pieces really easily. So essentially, you want a hand of like, if it's really early, 1 hook, 1 Titania, and Astaroth, like an extra Astaroth, so you have 2, 1 to banish for her, 1 extra one is good. Or like a hook, 2 Titanias, 2 hooks is okay too, because it's up to, so you don't have to use their effects. But essentially, the second you just go deactivate Rising for 0, because this costs 4 and 6, so you remove 10 mana counters. You could pay the Awakening, by the way. A lot of people are confused by this. You can pay the full cost of this card with her mana counters. So you remove all 10 mana counters to play this card for free. It bounces all monsters to the hand, and then you drop like hook into Titanias, 2 hooks in Titania, whatever combination you want, as long as you're getting rid of as many of their stones as you can. And then you just like start swinging, and they can't do anything because they're tapping for a stone and they're just super behind. So it's a really straightforward deck. There's nothing too crazy about it. Just make sure that you're like, if you have like Spacetime Anomaly and cards like that, and you feel like your opponent's setting up, use the best of your mana. Don't just like if you have a blue and a black open in Spacetime Anomaly, don't like summon a scout and pass. It's so much better just to hold the Spacetime Anomaly, and then stop your opponent from going off of stuff and then just keep drawing, because you're not guaranteed that the Alice Scout's going to die anyway. So always prioritize the cards that draw. Make sure you're using your mana efficiently. Don't just summon Astaroth for the sake of drawing if you don't have another one, or if you can't bounce it to your hand, because then that's another combo piece you have to keep waiting for. It's like, essentially, if it's really early in the game and your opponent has like, let's say like 2 or 3 stones, even if you resolve this and summon only 1 Titania and 1 hook, and you get rid of 2 of their stones, swinging with a Titania, a hook, and Mercurius the next turn is pretty much still going to leave them dead, and they're going to just keep tapping for a stone, hoping to catch up and not be able to be fast enough to survive her flyings and still kill the other 2. So like, it doesn't matter if you have the 3 waters, essentially, because even like early on in the game, 1 hook and 1 Titania is enough. But like, if you lose an Astaroth and you can't resolve this card, it doesn't matter what your hand is. Like, it's more important to have the Astaroth and be able to resolve this card than have the other cards. So always be really careful with the Astaroths. Don't just like summon them and have them get like countered and destroyed. Just hold them in your hand where they're safe. Even at that point, if your opponent's like using Scorn to hit them out of your hand, it's much better than them killing it on the field, because like something like a Lightning Strike costs so cheap, or Spacetime Anomaly gives them so much advantage, that like killing it for that sake feels like a really big bummer. And then because they can scorn another card out of your hand with like the remainder mana they have. But if they're like scorning your hand and they have the space time anomaly like your Alice Scouts and stuff, then that's totally fine because you're drawing for it anyway. So just be really, really cautious with the Astaroths. Don't just summon them for the sake of drawing unless you know you have the mana to pay to bounce it to your hand. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. There's 2 more rulers left that I haven't done, and it's Wukong and a Yogg. I don't know which one I'm going to do first. I might be messing around with Wukong because Yogg is really, really similar to the way I had the Mikage deck. It plays a lot of hand discard, and it plays a lot of stealth. And I know you guys have already seen that, so I might be working on Wukong next. I've said before, if you guys are really impatient and really want the Yogg list, play something really, really similar to the way I had Mikage, except minus maybe like the Taros and the Demon Flames and stuff like that seemed like it corresponded with Mikage's ruler effect. But basically you want to attack your opponent's hand and then blow up the field using Yogg's effect, because then it leaves them with nothing, and then finish them off using his high attack and the stealth monsters and whatnot. But Wukong is going to take a bit of work. I want to see if I can think of something really interesting for him. So somebody recommended I play like a Resonator list version of him. I might play something that's like super low on Resonators because that does sound really interesting. I had actually practiced something like that, but it didn't feel really good just because of the way I had it. I think I had just built a really bad version of it. But I'm going to keep messing around with this. So Wukong might most likely be next. I might also just make Xion and squeeze her in there too because I've been really wanting to test that out. I think she's really good right now as well. But we'll see what's coming next. I really, once again, do hope you guys enjoy this deck profile. I'm trying to get videos out more frequently, but like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on with my mom's health and I've been working a ton of hours still. So it's been kind of hard for me to find the time. But I know you guys are really supportive and you guys have been like backing me up for a really long time. So I do appreciate that. And so if you guys do have any questions or need any help understanding anything, always feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so the videos come straight to you. And I'll definitely catch you guys next time.